Welcome to another episode of Management Unplugged by GR Deich. All right, picture this. It's 2019. The U.S. economy seems to be firing on all cylinders, but underneath the surface, a massive crisis is brewing in one of the most important sectors there is, healthcare. A secret problem was just about to explode, and it was threatening the whole system. Almost 20%. That's not just a number. That was the shocking annual turnover rate for healthcare workers. Just let that sink in for a second. Nearly 1 out of every 5 employees in healthcare was walking out the door every single year. It was a total revolving door, and it was spinning completely out of control. And the scale of this thing? It was just staggering. Can you imagine an average hospital trying to replace almost its entire workforce, 90%, in just 5 years? That's insane. We're talking about nurses, doctors, lab techs, the very people we all depend on. They were leaving in droves. It was like trying to fill a bucket that had a massive hole in the bottom. So this was the big question, right? With the whole system just hemorrhaging its most vital people, what could possibly be done to stop the bleeding? This wasn't just some HR headache. It was a real threat to the very foundation of healthcare in the U.S. Somebody had to step up, and they had to do it fast. And this is where our story really kicks into gear. This enormous, industry-wide problem landed with a thud right on the desk of a consulting firm, Brownspeed Health Care. We'll call them BHC. And this is exactly the kind of messy, high-stakes problem they were hired to solve. So let's meet the guy at the center of all this. His name is Johnny Stonebrook, and he's the Chief Analytical Officer at BHC. He's the numbers guy, the analyst whose job it is to look at pure chaos and somehow find a path forward. And boy, was he about to get the challenge of a lifetime.
His CEO, Mary Tadwell, laid it out pretty bluntly. She basically told him, "Hey Johnny, go solve the single biggest crisis facing our clients in the entire healthcare industry. Oh, and I need your full plan on my desk in 2 weeks." I mean, talk about pressure. The clock was officially ticking.
Okay, so with a problem this huge and a deadline this tight, where do you even begin? Stonebrook knew that things like burnout and job satisfaction were big deals, but fixing those takes years. He only had 2 weeks. He needed something he could tackle right now.
So he made a smart call. He decided to follow the money. He had this hunch that this great healthcare exodus wasn't just about feeling unappreciated. It was about something much more fundamental. It was about whether you could afford to pay your bills at the end of the month.
And pretty quickly, he found a massive clue. See, a salary isn't just a number. It's about what that number can buy. A paycheck in Iowa, where it's 20% cheaper to live, goes a whole lot further than that same paycheck in California, where life is a whopping 41% more expensive. It became crystal clear. People weren't just quitting a job. They were fleeing a financial situation that was becoming totally unsustainable.
So Stonebrook has his clue. The problem is money. But the next question is the big one. How do you fix that across an entire organization with thousands of people in dozens of different places? Well, his solution was brilliant, and it was probably sitting on your desktop this whole time.
He turned to good old Microsoft Excel, but not just any part of Excel. He used a super powerful function called forecast.ets. Now that sounds really technical, but honestly, just think of it like a little crystal ball built right into your spreadsheet. It's not magic. It just looks at all the data from the past, finds the patterns, and then makes a really educated guess about what's coming next.
And here's the game plan he came up with. First, he fed a decade's worth of inflation data, the Consumer Price Index, into Excel. Step 2, he used that crystal ball function, forecast.ets, to predict how much the cost of living was going to go up. And then for step 3, he used that prediction to calculate a fair, location-specific pay adjustment for every employee. He was literally using data to make things fair again.
But Stonebrook was a smart guy. He knew that even though money was the immediate problem, it wasn't the only problem. A fair paycheck was absolutely the critical first move. It's how you show people you respect them. But it wasn't the end of the story.
His full plan went way beyond that initial pay bump. He built a whole long-term strategy on top of it. He recommended things like tuition reimbursement so people could learn and grow,
better retirement plans so they could actually see a future for themselves, and clear, real opportunities for promotion. It was a complete package, designed not just to keep people from leaving, but to make them want to stay and build a career.
So let's zoom out for a second. Why does any of this really matter? Because this was never just about helping a hospital save a little money on recruiting costs. The stakes here were way, way higher than that.
It's a pretty scary chain reaction when you think about it. When you have high turnover, you're constantly spending money to hire and train new people. That drives up healthcare costs for all of us. But even more importantly, when a hospital is constantly short-staffed and filled with less experienced people, the quality of patient care itself is put at risk.
So in the end, what started with one analyst staring at a spreadsheet became something so much bigger. By using data to figure out how to treat employees fairly, starting with their paycheck, Stonebrook wasn't just solving a business problem for a client.
He was actually creating a blueprint, a practical, data-driven, and really a humane way to stabilize the entire healthcare workforce. And by doing that, he was helping reduce costs and, most importantly, protect the quality of care for every single patient. It just goes to show you, sometimes the biggest problems can be tackled with a simple idea and a tool that was right in front of us all along.
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other huge, messy problems out there are just waiting for someone to come along, look at the data with fresh eyes, and find a solution? Something to think about. See you later. Bye-bye.